What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of Respect the Game podcast. My name is Edward, named after a trilogy. That being my pop. Shout out to my mother, grandmother for helping raise me too. Please make sure you go follow at Emcstats for all your up-to-date high school, pro, and collegiate sports coverage. We'll not disappoint. We'll keep you up to date on all that's going on in the beautiful sports world. We're not at full strength. It's a two-man game this week, but nonetheless, we still gonna have a super great episode. Holla at the people.
Hey man, Big Brother Iron Man tapping in, Shine Hard Izzo, that's Instagram, Twitter, new year, new me, Shine Hard Surgical Pitch coming soon. Could be a potential vlogging podcast. Who knows? But yeah, man, let's go.
Nah, man. What's recently taking place over in the culture side of things? Gucci Man, Big Scar, this whole back and forthness of did he pay, did he help with the funeral, and in the wake of Big Scar's passing. Big Scar is a rapper signed to Gucci Man 1017 music company. Um, and so you have the viral moment of Big Scar's brother going on live. I believe maybe his sister or somebody else was also making comments on social media, basically saying Gucci said he was gonna pay for the whole thing, whole funeral. Then Gucci said he was only gonna pay 10,000, but they never got sent through. Then Gucci reached out to the family, allegedly saying, "Hey, I need to get them chains back that I gave to Big Scar." A whole bunch of back and forth, this and that. Then I believe also Big Scar's father made mentions kind of trying to clear up the misnomers or miscommunication and kind of basically saying, Gucci, helped them out with the funeral. Um, what I don't like about this personally, I think as I continue to aspire, to, higher tax brackets and I try to make sure I understand and appreciate and use my money, as best as I can. Is one, like the counting of someone's pockets, one, and then two, this this degree of maybe entitlement in terms of like, you rich, you supposed to do XYZ, so so on and so forth. I didn't like that. And I also didn't like what I felt like is a trend, and maybe amongst a trend that I feel like I see in the Black community. I can't really speak to all those other communities because I'm not as exposed to them. But I always feel like, in whatever type of situation it may be, there's always this sense of trying to expose one another in some capacity, to be like, you ain't really do this, or you ain't really that, or you ain't really who you said you is, or whatever the case may be. Um, so I didn't really like that. I didn't really like that, although I am sensitive to the fact people in a grieving state, when you're grieving after because of the passing of a loved one, that can kind of that could bring up a variety of emotions that causes people to, act out and in whatever way. So yeah, that's kind of that was my viewpoint on the situation. Gucci Man's wife, she ended up posting receipts, basically saying, "Hey, we did send $10,000 to the funeral home, where big to the funeral home that was taking care of the funeral processions of Big Scar." And she also showed an email basically saying like, "Yo, y'all get out my husband back. Like he did what he said he was gonna do." Haven't heard anything specifically or seen anything specifically from Gucci Man regarding the situation. But that is the situation as a whole in a nutshell. Yeah, how did you feel about the situation, Izzo?
um, it was a disheartening situation. Like I said, or like you said, rather, within the Black community, for whatever reason, we have a huge affinity of wanting to out people publicly, especially when they don't do something that they, committed to, whether that been verbally, contractually. Um, I do take a slight step back, a slight pause at the fact that, as opposed to making Scar the center of detention, the family kind of took their 10 minutes of fame to basically, throw dirt on Gucci name, saying, "Oh, you ain't paid for everything, like you said. You supposed to be this millionaire, this and that." to a degree, I do get that because Gucci Man had rightfully invested a lot of money within Big Scar. I.e., rappers, you got to create this image, this mantra, right? So you
Right.
need the rapper kit, you need the change, you need the grill, you need the
Yeah, got to
iced
look
out
the
bezel.
part.
Nah, for sure, and Gucci definitely did his part with that. But I guess the opposite side of that is it's a bad PR look for a young man to just die on your label, and within a few weeks you asking for the change back, as if this man parents didn't just lose their entire son, and you so much focused on to me, right? Because those are the messages that get put out to the public. That you worried about getting, some gold and some titanium back. You know what I'm saying? That came across pleasantly, like what your real priorities was on. What not about, hey, what do you all need in this time? Like, is there any way that I can help? Because I get it, paying for a funeral, but I mean, their lifeline is gone now, right? That channel of riches, that quick money Scar could bring in, from doing a show or doing a concert or festival. That's that opportunity is gone now. So as opposed to maybe asking for your change back, ask how you could, maybe serve the family in some capacity. Like maybe you set them up with a one-time payment yearly, here on out. I don't know how long it goes, right? Just depending on how much revenue Scar brought into the label. I'm not sure of the numbers, but I would have liked for something like that to maybe have been public, but the ugly only get broadcasted. So messy situation. They definitely could have had a phone call because the father did end up making a live and going live and saying he appreciated Gucci and confirming that he did pay 10,000, towards the funeral, which I don't believe was the ending cost, but he covered a majority of the cost. And you know, it's a sad situation to see a young black man, lose his life to drugs. So it's a sad situation.
Yeah, I think another side to it as well, in terms of whether or not you gonna pay for the funeral costs, whether or not you said you did. Some people's view of funerals to a degree is obviously it's a business. Some may, parentheses that as a hustle. As well as some people look at a funeral as like taking a bunch of money and basically throwing it down in the dirt, right? They don't necessarily always look at it as a homegoing service or quote unquote
Mm,
sending someone off the right way. It could just be like, yo, I'm not supposed to pay X amount of dollars for, let's just say, a coffin. Let's just like, we're not supposed to pay X amount of dollars for a coffin just to be put in the dirt, right? That's of no disrespect to anybody deceased or whatever, but that could be some people's perception on as it goes about paying for like funeral costs and so forth. So I mean, who knows what Gucci Man's like thought process was behind it? Like it's like Pop said, yo, he did help out. Um, but at the same time, you would. I don't want to try to place a good or bad mark on Gucci Man's like character as a man on whether or not he wanted to actually pay for the funeral. But like there's also an argument to be with sensitivity to the matter. Is it like, like is that truly considered to be like Gucci Man's like responsibility? You know what I'm saying? Um,
it's true. I mean, but it's again. I feel like if you look at it from his perspective, it's like, man, that's your artist, bro. You were very vocal and screaming "Free Pooh Shiesty." I'm pretty sure you pay money for lawyers, even appeal lawyers, because at the time that was your most lucrative artist, bringing in a lot of money to the label, right? So one is probably more financially invested into a Pooh Shiesty, right? Although both Memphis rappers, I will get that. So Memphis has been a huge talent pool as of lately. If you look at Glorilla, Big Scar himself, Pooh Shiesty, Big 30s, a lot of talent that's been, bubbling around the Memphis area. But, one can suggest that, hey, you was this man's CEO. He looked up to you. Yeah, granted, people look at it like, oh, but you can't look at it like if you die on the job at your company, CEO ain't gonna pay for your funeral. this is a little different job, right? This isn't your
A bit
normal
more
9 to 5 job.
personal.
This is a bit more personal. It ain't like he got 150,000 employees or even 150 employees at 1017. You got less than 10 artists on your roster, man. So quite literally, you're building interpersonal relationships with these people. And I'm pretty sure you met his parents before, right? Because you probably signed him at an age to where he probably even wasn't legally even ready to sign a contract at that point. So you quite literally had to consult his parents. So in a way, the parents are looking at you to kind of oversee him within his new career endeavor. So being that he's so young, you know what I mean? It probably was a viewpoint of, hey, Gucci, we looking for you to take the lead on this. Like, this would be a bad PR look for you in regards to if you just be dismissive of your artist, because it comes across as, oh, you ain't making me no money no more. I ain't, fuck you.
Yeah.
It could be really bad for business going forward, because it's like, damn, you see how you did Big Squad? Do I really want to subject myself to even be a part of you? That's how you treat, people. So you got to think about it from all angles, I think.
No, definitely, man. Definitely. Moving on to the NBA. So all right, so hypothetically speaking, with the understanding that yes, we're not even at the halfway mark of the NBA season currently, and two, you have to also play the second half of the season before really having a true vote or opinion on who you think the NBA MVP will ultimately end up being, with all those things considered, and, i.e., barring injury, so on and so forth. If you had to pick an MVP today, at this very moment, what's the day? The 10th, January 10th. If you had to pick an MVP today, all things considered, everybody's body of work, is well, out of these 10, I will start out of these 10, who are currently the top 10 in terms of Vegas odds to win the MVP. Zion Williamson, Stephen Curry, Donovan Mitchell, Ja Morant, Joel Embiid, KD, Jason Tatum, Giannis, Jokic, and Luka. Out of those 10 players, again, Zion, Stephen Curry, Donovan Mitchell, Ja Morant, Joel Embiid, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Giannis, the Joker, and Luka. Out of those 10, today at this very moment, with all the disclaimers prior, who is your MVP?
I'm gonna have to go. It's either a toss up between Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum. The reason I'm gonna go ahead and dismiss Ja Morant, obviously Steph and Zion, those three automatically for me. You haven't played enough games. You've been inhibited by injury. Even this early on within the season before All-Star break, I believe both Zion, Steph, uh,
Steph and
and
Steph has 26 games played and Zion only has 29 played.
yeah, so they've missed over either right at 10 games or well over 10 games already to the short stint of the season. So off that alone, I'm going to take them out of contingency just due to the sheer fact of, games played. But I think it's just undeniable at this point. Luka is the driving force of his team. If he doesn't do it, they literally don't have a chance. And you know what? He's literally the life and soul of the team. He initiates the offense. He's their first scoring option. And, they lean on him late in games to make plays for others and himself. So just in regards to the most valuable player, and they're still above 500, right? So I take that into account too. So they have a viable playoff position as it stands currently. And with him putting up astronomical numbers on really astronomical run, just well-roundedly, having 50-point triple-doubles, 60-point triple-doubles, kind of sounds like somebody I know who played in Houston before. I don't know, but he may have learned something from somebody, that wore
Right.
13 in Houston. But Yeah, man, I probably had to go Luka Brazil, man. Gotta go Luka Doncic.
All right, so before you started, you said you would toss it up between Luca and JT, but as you
I
continue
would.
to spill over, right, it kind of like leaned heavy towards like all that Luca has accomplished, right? When you say toss up, I interpret that as, it could be relatively close. Do you feel like how close would you gauge it if like you had to pick today?
I mean, I think it's pretty close because I think the narrative has always been right. The best player on the best team with the best record, right? And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Boston has a top three record or top two record within the East. I'm not sure if the Nets
They
are
number
still
one in the East. They number one in
they're
the
number
East
one in the East.
as of
Okay,
today. Yes, they number
I
one in the
think they're number one in the NBA as far as
Yeah,
record as well.
they're number one overall in the East.
And
In
that's
the
why I would
NBA.
give it to them. So the Celtics are currently wearing top two in offensive efficiency and top two within defensive efficiency. Or it may I know assuredly it's top three in both of those statistical categories, which tells me that one, you're a well-rounded team. Not only do you defend, but you can put the ball in the hole as well at a pretty high, highly efficient clip. So I take all of that into account. Them going through a pretty tumultuous off season, with the head coach
Oh
dealing
yeah.
with that, drama with the, affair and things of that nature, and you all still being able to block that out. By the way, promote another young black head coach who's done a tremendous job um, at getting the Celtic players, to block out the noise and really, get up to, really be prepared for these games. I think Jason Tatum took a huge leap this year. I think he heard the noise over the offseason because the finals was definitely there for the taking, and I think he'd be the first to tell you that he shrunk in the moment, but that's not the first time we've seen young superstars get in the finals and not do their best, especially your first time there. We get it, you get a pass the first go round. Bron, even though Bron got murdered for his, um, but but that, I mean, that's LeBron. They hold that man to the standard that's literally not even attainable. But it's
Yeah.
another conversation for another day. But just off that alone, record, team success, and you being the best player on that team, I think would have him neck and neck with Luca. But what Luca's doing individually is just kind of insane right now.
Right. So I could get flack for this, but I don't think it's close. Right. As of today, in this current as this sits, right. Um, I don't think it's close.
Newsflash: Heat break a NBA record for most free throws made in a game and most free throws made without a miss, with 40 free throws made with no misses.
Yeah, that's a recipe for that wasn't even a blowout game though, right?
That was a very close game. They needed literally every single one of those points.
Wow. Yeah. Definitely
Free
gonna
throws matter, boys and girls.
have
Get in
Hey,
that
look,
driveway and get
let's
your.
make sure we take notes on who the referees were tonight, and yeah, just
That's a good takeaway too. Good
let's,
takeaway.
yeah, make sure we see who the refs were and see if they officiate any playoff games. Uh,
Mm. Nigga say
but
got a
no, man.
parlay on it, John.
No, so I don't think it's close. I don't think it's close that Luka is the NBA MVP as of today, January 10th, right?
I'll
And
give you that.
a lot of times, right, when you say you don't think it's close, I think to most of the basketball world, that comes off as a disrespect to everybody else who's playing at like a supreme high level, like your i.e. Jason Tatum's. But it's less about it has nothing to, and saying it's not even close. Lucas should be the MVP. It has nothing to do with disrespecting the body of work of Jason Tatum, and it has everything to do with making sure the proper respect for what Luca has done is given to him. You know what I'm saying?
I believe that.
And so, right, so, and I didn't want to just come and like spew. I was just, yeah, it's Luca because he, triple doubles. You know what I'm saying? All right, so again, Luca, what Vegas has top 10 to possibly win MVP. Luca, Jokic, Giannis, Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, Ja Morant, Donovan Mitchell, Stephen Curry, Zion Williamson. All right, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna take Steph and Zion off the board because they've been missing in action, right? And so Luka right
Joel
now,
Embiid too recently.
yeah,
He's
definitely
missed some
because yeah,
games
he
too.
hasn't played as much as well.
Out of sight, out of mind right now.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Even though he
Luka,
did come back tonight, 30-11. So I will say that.
I would think, bro, and I think his
James
I
Harden
think
with a
his
triple double though. 16, 15, and 12. Not glamorous, but 15 assists
I'll
is
take it.
nuts. 15 assists
Um,
is nuts.
real quick off topic, we're gonna get back to Luka, but you saying he had 30 and 11, and I think his projection was like right at 30 and a half, Joel.
Don't quote me on that. I don't know if he ended up because I don't think the starters played the last 8 or 9 minutes of that game. So he could have very well probably went for 50. I think he ended up with what?
Let me see. 36. Okay. He finished with 36.
And what I tell you, Shea had 17 at half. Bro, they had him at 29. He ended up with 26. I took him under. He didn't get me
Yeah,
this
because
time.
this taco was like 25 and a half or something.
Oh, I took the regular square.
I'm going on the
Come on, bro. It's like clockwork to everybody all the time. Like, bro, want you some money? Tuesday, reverse taco. You're welcome.
Yeah, but getting back to the NBA MVP, so you take Steph and Zion off, and that would leave A more. But I won't go through all that. I give you a case for Luka. Luka obviously averaging 34 points per game. That's the highest in the NBA. Joel right behind him with 33, but hey, number one is number one. Then he has the highest usage rate in the league, which obviously is a no-brainer. He has a 38.5% usage rate. That's the highest in the league. Talk about Joel winning in a tough West that's normally always tough. The Mavs are the third seed, over 500 with 23 and 18 records. I lied. They're the fourth seed. The Mavs are the fourth seed in the West with 23 and 18. On top of that, he's second most in triple doubles with 9, right behind Jokic with 11. Okay. Then we talk about the most 50-point games. He got 3, including one of those being a 60-point triple double, right? When he had dropped, what was it? He dropped 60, 21,
60.
and 10.
Nah, the
60,
21 is
21,
actually crazy. That's 21 boards too.
That's 21 boards.
Hey man. It's hard to get 20 rebounds in the NBA, bro.
Stat line, bro.
It's hard to get 20 rebounds in the NBA.
No matter who you are.
I don't care who you are, bro. And for him to be 6'7", 6'8", getting 20 boards, 20 plus boards.
Yeah, bro.
That's
out of
extremely
those,
tough.
right. So, and on top of having the most 50-point games, it includes the 60, 20, and 10 games, 60 and 21 and 10 game, right? So you got all that measuring up for Luka, right? Now, think about all the players that I had said before, right? In terms of the top 10. Out of all of those players, when they don't play, their team has won at least one time without them this season when they don't play, when they're not in the lineup. Out of those 10 players, Luka is the only one whose team is undefeated. I lied. Forgive me, not saying they're winless.
Reverse undefeated.
Right, they're winless. They're winless when Luka don't play at 0-4. Everybody else's team has won at least one game without them. And so when you talk about truly, like the ultimate of like most valuable, yes, everybody is valuable in their own capacity, but I think if you talk about most valuable, right? I think you could possibly picture the Celtics being as good as they are. You could possibly see them winning, maybe not a conference series, a conference final series or a final, but you could possibly see them winning a series without Jason Tatum. I think it's a fair thought process.
No.
If they
I
are
don't
one
know.
seed, you don't think they could take out a play-in team without JT?
Well, if you're the one seed, you're not playing a playing team. Number one, you're playing an 8 seed.
Which
Number
is the play-in
two,
team.
it could be in theory, right? If the playing team would knock off one of those lower seeded, because the
Oh
lowest
yeah,
seed
yeah,
goes up
yeah.
against
You
the.
at 7, you
I
still
yeah, I'll give
yeah,
what
yeah,
you're saying though, in the spirit of
yeah.
what you're saying. A lower tier team. Uh, yeah. Could
Yeah, I mean,
they
yeah, I mean,
each buy? Yeah,
it's a thought process worth
possibly.
possibly worth entertaining. Be like, I can
I'd
see
give them
that.
I give them a decent chance to do that
A
without
good
JT. A
chance.
decent chance.
What are the Mavericks doing if Luka's
None.
not playing?
None.
You know what I'm saying? Zero, right? And so like, okay, and so like when you talk about even furthermore, like who's doing a lot with the little, obviously that's Luka. But like you look at Giannis, right? You just talk about like help. Giannis got Drew, and they still have the championship pieces that they once had when they won the championship. Tatum got Jalen, Marcus, Horford, and they still have that finals appearance pedigree group that they had, right? KD got Kyrie, Embiid, Trigger Maxo, Harden, Ja, Bane, Brooks, that up and coming emerging Jan Jackson Jr., like that core group that they got, that they building, Mitchell, Allen, Garden, Mobley, right? And Curry, he got his championship pedigree, Clay, so on and so forth. Let Brandon Ingram possibly, get healthy get healthy second half of the season. Zion got him, CJ McCollum. Jokic, you could say Jokic ain't got nobody. However, you could pay homage to getting in rhythm and possibly coming back and working himself to take a little bit of load off of Jokic and Jamal Murray. Who is Luka's running mate?
Christian Wood when he feel like balling.
When he feel like it, right?
Yeah, he ain't as because I mean, and I don't want to even take a shot at Christian Wood because I think he's had a pretty decent. I think better than decent. Like he's been averaging good numbers. I think he's
Because Christian
averaging
Wood is
close to.
surprisingly coming off the bench this year. I think most people thought he
He's
was going
actually
to
been
start.
starting the
Well,
last 15 games. So I
okay,
think Jason Kidd did go ahead and make the switch. And I know why he took him off the bench. It was no slight to Christian Wood. It was just like, man, we don't have nobody coming off the bench that can spell Lucas. So at least we don't get all our offense within the first unit,
first
right?
group, yeah.
But I mean, at some point, it's like you gotta call a spade a spade. Christian Wood is the best big you got on your team. You gotta start him. So I think as in that starting role, he's been averaging close to 20 and 10, if I'm not mistaken. I don't
Oh
think
yeah.
right at
So
10
with
rebounds, but he's been averaging close.
with Christian Woods, he's the next highest usage rate player for the Mavericks behind Luka. So Luka at 38.5% usage. Christian Wood is at 26 percent usage. And that's the next closest to Luka, considering all he produces. But yeah, man, like I say, in all in all of Luka's great heroics, bro. I understand in the NBA community and NBA world how saying it's not even close can come off as a slight to the Jason Tatum's and what the trajectory Joel was on before he kind of got into that out of sight, out of mind pocket. But it has nothing to do with disrespecting those great players and everything to do with paying the proper respect to Luka, bro. Like what Luka is doing right now, it's insane. It's not a matter of will Luka score 30. It's a matter of how is Luka going to actually score 30 tonight. I watched Luka against I remember watching Luka on Christmas Day against the Lakers, and the Lakers came out trying to double team him. And I was just like, they double teaming Luka. And Luka was like very slow, wasn't fighting the double team at all. He was kicking it, passing it. I'm like Luka on Cadillac this game against the Lakers. I'm not sure how many. Maybe he had.
End up turning up out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. And it was just like, it's not a matter of if, it's just about how.
Not a matter of if, only a matter of when. When is gonna start raining?
Yeah, man. So I mean, also too, right? And for Jason Tatum, right? You talk about the NBA. being about like storyline and narrative, I feel like one, the storyline around Luca and all his greatness will be like, wow, is this going to be like the third straight consecutive year a European player takes the MVP in the NBA, right? Continuing to push, just the international marketing of the league. And I don't know, and right, sometimes there's players where it's just like, hey, not as if like they don't earn it, but there's like there's a ceiling for certain players, and I feel like the ceiling for Luca, considering his current situation and the type of team he's on, like his ceiling is like the MVP. Jason Tatum, while the MVP is very much so attainable, his ceiling is a NBA championship, right? And so I feel like as those who can actually vote, um, one, I feel like to a degree, uh, though he's been showing and improving in this season, obviously people are human and they can be salty and try to hang like last year's performance over your head or whatever the case may be. But I feel like for Jason Tatum, like the narrative isn't about whether or not you're good enough to win the MVP of the league. Like it's about can you propel your team to like win a championship. And so I think that little nuance like goes into like some voting people's heads, where it's just like this MVP is about Luca. Like we worried about you in the playoffs, Jay. Um, so yeah. Um, over to the NFL. I hate all the game not on here for us to get everybody's picks. And my God, like I guess we'll have to crucify them since Sedacious not on tonight is but yeah, we'll start off first with just the playoff picture. So over in the AFC, the Chiefs they get their first round bye. Then you have the Jaguars going up against the Chargers. The Jaguars won the
That could
South.
surprisingly be a good game.
I think it's gonna be a good game. I don't think it's no. I don't think
I
it's
still got the Chargers winning that though.
right. Then you
Too
got the
much Keenan.
Bengals. Then you got the Bengals going up against the Ravens. They actually finished their season off playing against each other. And then you also have the Dolphins going up against the Bills. What you call it is out. Bridgewater's out with his hand. Tua's out.
And two is yeah, so that could be
And Bridgewater's out.
extremely. Skylar Thompson played a decent game.
Yeah, so
I don't know, but I just think with the narrative that the Bills have behind them, with DeMar Hamlin being literally revived on the field, quite literally being dead for 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about near-death experience. He's actually dead. Me being a Christian man, did you go see God? Did he tell you weren't finished yet? Did he?
Yeah.
I would love to have that conversation with him. That'd be a tremendous story. But to let you finish, I guess we were gonna say which matchups do we like, or who we think is coming out of each conference. I'm gonna let you.
We won't. We can just go with the matchup. Like, who do you see winning these games this week? You don't have to jump to who gonna come out the conference, but just in the wild card weekend, so to speak.
Okay, so I do have Chargers over Jags. I believe that's an easy one. Bucks and Cowboys. I believe the Cowboys will be who they are, and they will find a way to lose that game.
AFC. Stay on the AFC right there.
All right, cool. I won't jump. AFC. Bills and Dolphins. No Tua, no Teddy Bridgewater. Though they have weapons, I don't believe Skylar Thompson. Thought it was really admirable job he did when he stepped in, and his number got called. But I think that spotlight may be a bit too much for him to start in a playoff game against that Bills defense. And plus, they'll be on the road too. That Bills tundra won't be nothing nice around this time of year, especially for a third string quarterback. So I think the Bills win that handily. And then I believe the Bengals and
Bengals and the Ravens.
No Lamar Jackson. up shit's creek, man. It's gonna be tough. I think the Bengals win that handily as well. I don't believe that's particularly close unless LJ does decide he wants to play.
Don't come back,
I don't think
LJ.
he
Get your
don't
money,
come back,
bro.
bro. Go get paid, man. I wouldn't play another down. Once that little knee sprain came up, I was like, oh yeah, I'm
Yeah,
done.
that's all, folks.
Because I think under normal circumstances, I think he tries to fight through that and come back.
1,010%.
But it's like contract. I got these
Yeah,
100 millions waiting. Yeah, and Baltimore can play if they want to, act like they don't play me. I'll walk
yeah.
if they don't franchise tag him. If they franchise tag him, I'm gonna
I
be
think
so
if they
mad.
franchise him, if they franchise him, I think he still plays the my knee don't feel ready game. Like I'll go tit for tat.
Ooh,
I'll go tit for tat.
I'm not mad at him for that. I'm not. I'd actually encourage it.
Yeah, you not gonna pay me? I want to say they just gave. It was on Twitter and I didn't validate, but I feel like I seen
They
they
just
got
gave Roquan
Smith,
5-year, 100 million.
bro. So y'all got money.
I'm hot.
Y'all got money.
I'm hot. If I'm
Yeah,
him, I'm
man.
like, oh yeah. And he represented himself just like I was representing myself, but let my mom be my agent. And y'all just okay,
Bet that.
cool.
Yeah.
Bet.
Yeah, so I hope
60
y'all got
million
like
guaranteed, by the way, largest contract for a linebacker in NFL history.
yeah. Yeah, no, that's big. So y'all signing deals. I see. If I'm Lamar, okay.
Y'all making history too? Okay.
Nah,
Highest paid ever? Did Ray Lewis play here? Okay.
yeah, right, right.
I see what's going on.
Yeah, man. I think riding that wave. Well, for one, I won't say solely just riding the wave of the Bills and all the the passion and emotion that they're playing with right now. But I think it's a lot to not have Tua and not have Teddy and be down to your third string. And I just think I can't see the Bills coming this far to lose in a wild card. It's just like it don't like you know what I'm saying. Their season, right, with the DeMar Hamlin and then them having like the before DeMar Hamlin having the hiccups that they were having like late in games throughout the season. But you talk about DeMar Hamlin being revived, and then you think about how they come out last week, the two kickoff returns. And this has that storybook vibe around the team. So it's just like I can't see this story ending and then like losing to a third string quarterback in a wild card weekend. Can't see that. So I'm gonna go with the Bills on that front. Also, too, Joey Crack, high respect for him, high esteem for him. I'm gonna rock out with Joe Burrow.
Joey.
The Ravens, they offense is stagnant, not having Lamar. Huntley, he's more of a runner than a thrower of the football. Yeah. Do the Jaguars rest their loins on just finally making the playoffs after having made the playoffs in so long?
I think they fight, man. I really like. I know Coach will probably be proud of me, but I like this Jags team. I think it's one of the better Jags teams as of recently. Obviously, not as good as the Jags team with Blake Bortles that got all the way to the AFC Championship game, but I think it's a lot saying to say that this is a decent Jags team. They ended the season 9-8 on a pretty good note. Travis Etienne is looking like that premier back that you thought he would be coming out of Clemson.
ETNT.
Yeah, man. He's receiving the ball well, rushing the ball at a pretty good clip. Trevor Lawrence looks more settled with actually comfortable coaching as opposed to Mr. Fondler in the club, Coach Myers over there previously in the other regime. But I just think the Chargers, too much Justin Herbert, too much Keenan Allen, and then obviously Keenan Allen, you got Mike Williams coming into be a star of his own within the league. We're in a league, mind you, with a bevy of great receivers, right? But I think Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are, when healthy, they are definitely one of the better duos in the league. Definitely a a top 8 receiving duo within the league for sure. When healthy, because health has been a huge factor with that. But I think that's that for the AFC. Obviously, KC got the first round bye. Moving over to the NFC, Cowboys get rocked, smashed, demolished by the Buccaneers. That loss that they took at the hand of Washington with Sam Howell at the helm was just egregious, just completely. I mean, you want to talk about no effort, got outplayed. Dak, you can literally pencil him down for a pick every game. He'll give you the ball. He'll give you a chance to beat him. A recipe for disaster. Now, that defense has been legendary, and I want to give Cowboys fans something to cheer about. That defense has done something historic. For the first time, I believe, in NFL history, they led the league in turnovers 2 years in a row, or I believe in turnover points, turnover ratio, which is a huge stat. So that quite literally tells me your defense can change the entire complexion of a game, just by them being themselves, and they've been that for 2 years. So I think their defense keeps them in it. I think it comes down to the wire, and if it does come down to the wire, I expect Brady to get calls from the refs and for him to march a team down. I just don't see the Cowboys overcoming that.
Or if it comes down to the wire, you could expect Dak to throw a pick six. I mean,
throw the game away. Either or, however you want to look at it. Good Tampa Bay defense or opportunistically bad, Dak throwing picks, but
so this is also to go back real quick. This is also Justin Herbert's first playoff appearance, right?
This is, you're right.
Yeah, this is Justin Herbert's first playoff appearance, and they're the 5th seed. Jaguars get home field advantage at the 4th seed.
Wow.
And I think I'm gonna ride. I think I'm gonna go against you, and I'm gonna just ride off that home field advantage, and Justin Herbert having to go on the road, and Trevor Lawrence being able to be more settled and be at home with him catching his stride.
I'm not mad at you for that prediction, and I wouldn't even fight against that. I could see a world where the Jaguars go in there and they win a game, and because the Chargers, they aren't. They've been known to, hey, we don't want to win this game this bad. You still want to be in it. They good for that. So it'll be a good game, man. Wild card weekend should be good upcoming, man. It should be a good weekend, for football. Moving on to the other matchup within the NFC.
Yeah, I don't believe in Dak. I don't believe in Dak. Like you said, historical defense, 2 consecutive straight years with the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, the Bucs beat them early on to open up the season. And it's the playoffs, and even with struggling as gruesome and horrifically as they did, they still allowed Thomas Patrick Edward Brady to find his way in the playoffs.
Like when you say that man full name, he play no games.
And so with that, I feel like if you have to think about which quarterback do you believe to lead their team, I think I'm a favor Brady any day of the week. And I just don't believe in Dak in any way, shape, or form. And I think as great, as beautiful as the defense could possibly come out to play and want to play, yes, you have, the Brady opportunistic referee calls that could happen. I think Tom Brady's going to play well enough to not cost his team the game. And I think Dak is going to find a way to really burn down the city of Dallas with his play. That's what I'm gonna ride on. I'm not saying Brady's going to shred the defense. He's just going to play well enough to not lose the game, and Dak is going to find.
He won't suck as bad as Dak, and that will be enough to win.
Look, he won't. He may put up another eight fantasy points. You know what I'm saying?
Man, that dude there, man. Yeah, man. We gonna just. I think that's a good segue. I know we got some other matchups in the NFC, man. Dak, if you listening to the podcast, man, You let me down, brother. Had you start in the fantasy Super Bowl. You give me 8 points. Money league. What can I say, man? That's what I get for putting my money on a Cowboys player in order to lead me to a Super Bowl win.
Hey,
Shit ain't happened since the 90s.
what was your hardest uh start or bench decision you had to make that you can recall from this fantasy season?
Honestly, bro, just due to the gravity of the game, I want to say this game, the fantasy Super Bowl that just passed, I made a great decision by not starting Dalvin Cook. I was reading up, some local journalists, kind of more so projecting him not to play the full game, which in fact he didn't, and he actually ended up fumbling early, and they
All the
kind of,
more reason to not play the
and he got a little nicked up during the game as well. So I actually started Jared McKinnon, and McKinnon actually scored, which ended up being a great decision, right? But I'll say the toughest non-start that I didn't make again this past year, well, this past week, I didn't start Jerry Judy, and Jerry Judy actually went crazy, and I think that would have won me my fantasy matchup for the Super Bowl had I started him. So that's probably the toughest one that actually lost me the Super Bowl.
my starter sit decision I had to make was midway through the season, which paid off greatly for me to make the playoffs in both leagues. The money league and the non-money league is starting Thomas Patrick Edward Brady for playing more so like Thomas and starting Tua at the quarterback spot. And starting Tua paid off because I had Waddle as a receiver starting, so I kind of got double. And when they had big games, as you know, Tom Brady kind of struggled for most of the season, and that was a tough decision because I was just like, bro, if at any moment Tom Brady turned the switch, I'm going to be
And just
disgusted.
throw for 4 touchdowns, you'd be sick, right? You'd be like, what?
Yeah, man. But also too in the AFC, the Chiefs they have a first round bye, so that's why we didn't talk
Of
about
course, they own the AFC, bro. Let's just
right.
call a
It's
spade a spade.
in the NFC, the Eagles they have the first round bye with the number one seed. But yeah, me and Izzo, we both think that the Bucks are going to take it in the wild card weekend over the Cowboys. Which one do you want to go to first? Either the Giants over
Vikings and Giants. I believe the Vikings handily beat the Giants. I think the Vikings are too well rounded of a team. They can run the ball with Dalvin Cook. He actually leads the NFL in fumbles this year, tied with Alvin Kamara, which isn't a good place to be. Coincidentally, two pretty great running backs leading the league in fumbles. But you still got Justin Jefferson, a monster on the outside. You still got Thielen, very good number two option, and then KJ Osborne has actually come alive these last 4 or 5 weeks, putting up huge numbers within the last 3 weeks specifically. I think one of those games, I think it was the game against the Colts. I think the guy almost had 200 yards receiving. He had a huge monster game. I think he had the most receiving yards of his career. So he's actually come alive and solidified himself as a number three option for them. So I think with all that combined with that Vikings defense as well, I just think it's too much for a Giants team that's been surprisingly competitive and really scrappy this year to get in the position that they're in. But I think in the end, Captain Kirk, he'll get him out of there.
now? I know this past Sunday, Saquon didn't play and Daniel Jones didn't play. Was that the Giants resting their starters for the playoffs?
It was, which is again why I didn't start Saquon in my fantasy, and I started Jared McKinnon because they didn't want to risk injury to the players that they needed for the playoffs.
Right on. So then that would set the stage for Christian Kirk. Not Christian Kirk. I'm thinking about the Jags. Kirk Cousins. And Daniel Jones. Man, with how the Vikings have had some of the most flukiest losses known to man this season, is there any reservation, or is there any thought process that you can conceive that you could foresee saying, well, it's the Vikings. I can see them losing this game against the Giants, even though I know you just picked the Vikings.
Absolutely. I think the same mantra applies to the Vikings as it does to the Cowboys. They are actually been waiting to happen. Now, I will say this: I don't think this is by chance. When you win one score or less games, 11 of those, and they were 13-4 this year.
Yeah,
13-4. When you have 11 games decided by one score or less, that is a strong indication that you have a very strong football team, and that football team is filled with some good character because that means when adversity hits, they don't fold. Y'all fight back and punch people back in the mouth and end up overcoming. So I think that's a great. Though it's pretty alarming that y'all would let it get that close. I mean, it's the NFL though, right?
yeah.
But I think it speaks
I
more to
mean,
your
you see,
character
you
that
see what happened.
you're able to fight and squeeze out hard fought wins, right? So, I think
Yeah,
that's one of the bigger things that they got going for them coming into the playoff matchup with the Giants.
yeah. No, I was gonna use a comparison as you see what happened to TCU and all those 1 point games that they had this past season, but obviously you wouldn't look at the Giants to be the Georgia
Different beast,
Bulldogs.
man. Speaking on college, bro, I speak for everybody. I believe it was a very angry middle-aged Caucasian man made a TikTok just basically tearing the college football committee, the college football committee a new rear, basically saying this is horse manure. What we're watching, due to the fact that everybody and their mom thought Alabama should be in that championship game. If this isn't the biggest indicator that the SEC is just leaps, bounds, and eons ahead of every other college football conference, I don't know what other indicator you need because TCU was looked at as a top team throughout the year. They got to see a real SEC team and they folded quickly
Bro,
under
they were
pressure.
eating wings on the sideline.
I seen that.
How disrespectful or how trash do you have to be for a team to
Man, they
say,
ain't
I
taking them
want to?
dudes serious. I follow a content creator who works for Prize Picks, Trent Attaya, and he's a TCU alumni, also fellow caper in the
I
Prize
know
Picks
he probably
community.
been big off the fandom and the alumni in this. I know.
And he lost a lot of money, man. But I think deep down he knew what was going on. He had to have known. But
Yeah, man.
that natty wasn't even close, man. It wasn't even close.
Um, yeah, no. Going back to the NFC. What are your thoughts on the Geno Smith Seahawks, Brock Purdy, and the Niners? The,
Oh
the,
man.
Shan- the Shanahan show and improve like he always does before he gets to the Super Bowl.
Man,
Christian
think it's something a
McCaffrey.
little I think it's something a little different this year. I think is man, God works in mysterious ways, man. Of course, you never want to see anybody injured. That being Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo going down with season-ending injuries. But I think it paved the way to set the stage for. They used to call him Mr. Irrelevant. I think he's earned the title, Mr. Relevant now. A guy who stepped in and has yet to lose a game. And I know he has one of the more complete teams in football. I get it. But man, Trey Lance, when he started, though was short, he took some L's. Jimmy
Yeah,
Garoppolo, when he started, I believe he took some L's as well. Brock Purdy, when he started,
seems to
he don't
be.
lose.
Yeah.
Um, he seems to know exactly what he's doing. He's decisive with the ball. Um, Pretty good ball placement. Big quarterback, right? He's about 6'1", 6'2". Um, Seems to be very in tune with the team, and he's not afraid of the moment, right? I haven't seen him get rattled. Um, I've seen him make some big time throws, and to be quite honest with you, he's looked better at times this year than Jimmy G, and he's looked better than Trey Lance. So I think going into next year, man, if Brock Purdy leads them to an NFC Championship game, Trey Lance, brother, I'm sorry to say that that
Yeah,
that
nah.
strip club fiasco you started off with, bro,
Yeah, he gonna have to earn that job back. Like, you know what I'm saying?
ain't
Without
no earning that job
you
back,
don't
bro.
think it's earning it back
If
as the number one
bro,
overall pick?
if
Well, not
no,
overall,
but top five pick, man, you can lose that, bro. Like if they go to the Super Bowl, how do you go back to Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance at quarterback, bro? You a losing
well,
team
no, Jimmy Garoppolo completely out of the picture. Like,
for sure. But Trey Lance, you're done, bro. You can be the backup. We can't. We've seen too much. We've seen too much. He's
because
played more games than you.
Trey got hurt the first game of the season, correct? This is the first.
I
Let me
believe it was
see.
the first, second or third week, I believe. Jimmy G started pretty quick. I believe he got hurt either in week 2 or week 3 of the regular season. But man,
He got hurt the second week against
yeah,
the
week 2.
Seahawks. Yeah, week
Week
2.
So, like I said, man, let Brock Purdy lead them to an NFC title game. Trey Lance, really low key, your job already kind of lost. Let this man have any postseason success, it's gonna be pretty damn difficult to come back from that. And I'm telling you, it's gonna be tough sledding, man. It's gonna be tough sledding. I just don't see them going back to Trey Lance. I think they've seen. Come on, man. This is the NFL, man. It stands for not for long. I mean, injuries are part of it. Go ask Drew Bledsoe. You know, it's a part of the game, man. But that's the beauty of the game, right? Because you don't know who you have on your roster
Yeah, today, you know,
until you know who you got on your roster until they get a chance to play, right? So it's like, hey,
trial by fire. You know what I'm
trial
saying?
by fire, and Brock Purdy been looking like a diamond under that pressure, man. So, um, yeah, man, Trey Lance. I know if anybody you rooting for the demise of the Niners, I know you'll never come out and say it, but you quite literally will want Purdy to lose in the first round, and even if he does lose, I think it's still a fight for your job, bro. I
Yeah,
think it's
because
a fight.
like even if he comes back, he's either one on a short leash or two, knowing how Kyle Shanahan is and tries to be experimental and futuristic with how he calls plays around the offense, he could be splitting in between drives and plays.
I think you got to keep Purdy in there, bro, especially if he keep winning out. I just don't see a situation if they get to the NFC title game, and then let's just say they lose there, right? That would have been his first game lost this
In the
year.
playoffs. Yeah.
Come on, man. It's like you
Yeah.
can't you putting together a hell of a resume and hell of game tape, bro, to the point to where it's undeniable. Like, man, we can't if we don't start him, it's more about our organization than it does, about Brock Purdy. That's just, you know what I'm saying? And I like Trey Lance, but I knew when bro got caught in the strip club with the cameras out, I said, man, bro, you ain't ready. You ain't
Yeah.
ready, bro. This is supposed to be your second year. You supposed to be ready. You won't look like you ready. And I hate bringing that up, but it's like that's all I can think of is
Yeah.
him getting his James Harden on the strip while Brock Purdy in that playbook prepping him, getting ready for his moment.
Yeah, no, Brock Purdy, he is currently 5-0 as a starter. That sixth game where he entered with Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt, I believe Jimmy Garoppolo, that was like very early in the game when he hurt his hand. And Brock Purdy got the majority of those snaps
I thought
against the
Garoppolo
Dolphins.
had an ankle injury, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe
I
ankle,
thought he broke his ankle too.
maybe ankle. Well, I know Lance and
He broke his ankle.
yeah, Lance broke his ankle.
I thought Jimmy G broke his ankle too, but I could be wrong. But that'd be really weird if they both broke their ankle.
Double check, fact check. Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, you're right. It's his foot. Jimmy Garoppolo is not. It was a no 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 no.
No, no,
Oh
no, no,
no, I'm
no.
tripping. Okay, this is back in 2021 where he broke his thumb, but nah, yeah, he had
He
a
said, "Yeah, man."
yeah, he broke his foot week 13. Yeah. Um, but yeah, man, Brock Purdy is 5-0 as a starter. When he came in to fill in for Jimmy Garoppolo against the Dolphins, he went 25 for 37, 210 yards, um, and
Two tutties.
two tutties on
I
cue.
knew it. He thrown for at least two passing touchdowns every game. Can you say the
Yeah,
same about Jimmy Garoppolo? No.
negative, negative. Yeah,
Negatory.
yeah, nah, at least two. And last week against the Cards, he
And
had
these being
three
your
passes.
first games,
Yo, first game.
come on, man. That strong tape. I don't see how you don't let Purdy have a into success in the playoffs, man. It's gonna be hard to go back to Jimmy G or Trey. Well, we already watched Jimmy G out of the
Yeah,
scenario. It's hard to go back to Trey Lance. You haven't seen enough, And it's hey, it's like I said, average NFL career is 3 years, man.
not for long, man. Not for long. Not for long.
Not for long. Not for long.
I'm gonna rock out with the. I'm gonna rock out with the Vikings over the Giants. Although I'm not married to that pick, I could see the Vikings doing whatever they've been.
Absolutely see them screwing it up. I
Yeah.
can too.
Whereas the Niners and Geno, they wrote him off. He ain't right back. He been riding away.
He going home though. I ain't gonna lie. It was an admirable stance. Nobody foresaw this. And people didn't know. I think it's quiet, kept secret. Pretty sure people who keep up with football know. But Geno Smith actually broke the passing yard record in a single season, surpassing Russell Wilson's record. Or Matt Hasselbeck may have had that record. I'm not sure. Um, but not to disrespect Russell Wilson, I believe he was in a horrible situation with Nathaniel Hackett. I don't know how he got that job, but he ran the offense in the ground, and quite literally, the games in which he left and got fired, I think those last two games, they had their best offensive outings of the entire season. If that doesn't speak volumes to the leadership that he was given to that offense, I don't know what does, but um, I think the Broncos will be okay. Um, if they get some, obviously Russell needs some weapons. He needs more weapons. They bolster that offensive line. I think they'll be okay, man. I really do. But shout out to the Seahawks, man. They end up having a pretty decent year, and they're gonna have a top 5 pick as well. So
uh, Geno Smith sets franchise record in completions with 399, pass attempts with 572, and completion percentage is 73.6%
wow,
completion percentage. And he did set that record this season for most passing yards in a season with 4,282, and that record was previously held by yours truly. Let's ride, Russell Wilson. Um, yeah, man. Who do I got for Brock Purdy or Geno Smith? Um, Kyle Shanahan, Pete. I don't know. I'm not married to either one, but he ain't lost, bro. I mean, hey man, you unbeatable, man. Let's go, Brock Purdy. He ain't lost.
he done gained a fan in me, man. I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty aware of Brock Purdy at Iowa State. We was playing for the Cyclones. I thought he was a pretty decent quarterback. Did I foresee him making a splash like this in the NFL? Honestly, I thought he'd get drafted higher.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't think he'd go as late as he did, being that he had broke a lot of records at Iowa State. But as you see, man, a lot of these guys, all they need is opportunity, and from there, hey, looking pretty damn good, man. That's a t-shirt, dog. This dude got last name. He can make so many. Anyway, man, Brock Purdy, you
Yeah.
need to be creative on your team, man. Hit me up, man. I'm in business.
Nah, man. We could close out with this. Is this do you think this is a legitimate concern? And this is something I feel like I foresee starting with last week. So Jalen Hurts goes out, misses 2 weeks, and that time Eagles go 0-2. Me personally, he had the shoulder injury, I believe it was. Um, so he's out. You hoping Gardner Minshew can keep the ship afloat. That didn't happen. Um, and so he comes back for the final game because they need to win this game to ensure they have a first round bye. Right. I personally, one of the things I struggled with, I was like, he missed 2 weeks coming off of injury, trying to rest that up and nurse that injury. And then you come back and to a degree, like a must win game. I personally, watching them play, they struggled. You would have hoped that they could have put the game out of reach by halftime and he didn't have to play in halftime, but it seemed to be out of sync, out of rhythm. So get injured, miss 2 weeks, come back, you out of rhythm in a must-win game. Y'all win. Now you go back on break for a week or another 2 weeks essentially to prepare. You're not knowing who you're gonna play out of the Bucks or the Cowboys, and then you have to play in another 2 weeks. I feel like that imbalance of and like inconsistency in playing, and you also like dealing with like a lingering injury. I think is going to, I think it could possibly, not that I know indefinitely it will, that could play a huge role in the rhythm of Jalen Hurts and him just, making things operate as he once did at an optimal level early in the season. That may be a problem as they get ready to play in the playoffs in 2 weeks. Do you feel like that's a valid process of thought in terms of something to be worried about if you're an Eagles fan, or do you think it's not that much to consider?
I think it's very concerning because rhythm is everything leading up into the postseason, and him missing, those couple games, resting up his shoulder sprain, I believe. I believe it definitely got the team out of a rhythm offensively. As you can see, Minshew was a pretty serviceable backup, but it wasn't enough to actually translate into wins on the field. And so you can obviously see, right, it's a talented team, but Hurts is kind of that engine that makes it go, right? That actually propels them over the top. So I think it will be tough regaining that rhythm, but I am glad that he was able to play and get a win right that last game. So hopefully that's enough. He gave a really admirable speech, as most H-Town dudes do. We just got that certain type of vibe and swagger and charisma about us. He gave a really bright and fiery speech about them keeping the pedal on the pedal to the floor and them not being complacent and them really wanting it and having to have a sense of urgency. So he does recognize the moment. There's something to be said when you're aware and you can recognize the pulse of the team. So I think with that, I think they do get on track, and I think they do end up winning that first playoff game. And who knows from there? It could be off and running, man. It could be a very exciting playoff picture, man. And a lot of new faces, man. The league is in good hands. As you can see, Tom Brady is literally the only elder statesman that's truly left from that under that old law.
Yeah.
What the old folks say, I'm under that old law.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, man. So who knows? This may be Brady's last hurrah. He doesn't strike me as somebody who needs a world tour. I mean, he already the GOAT. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So real
World
quick.
tour, not his girl tour. No shots, no shade to Giselle.
Yeah. Nah. I I hope for a good, successful run for Jalen Hurts in the playoffs. I hope for a good, successful run. Obviously, I'm a Tom Brady fan, but Tom Brady got his accolades. If he loses, so what does that mean at this point?
Not much.
Right, not much of anything, man. But I think, well, the Rams are out, right? So obviously we are going to have a new Super
And
Bowl
Sean
champ.
McVay could be out as coach potentially. He does not. He's uncertain of his future, and I know they were going all in. I'm tempted to see where he lands because if he goes somewhere else with cap space and a aspiring quarterback, and who knows, man? Who knows? Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah, man. So yeah, now that's your wild card weekend synopsis, man. Appreciate y'all beautiful people for tuning in. Wasn't at full strength tonight, but nonetheless, still a great episode. Me and my brother Sean Hart Izzo being able to hold it down for Sedacious and Black Peace, who wasn't in the building tonight. But make sure you follow them at Black BLAQUE period PEACE and follow Sedacious at I am Sedacious. IAMSEDATAIOUS. Just felt like I was spelling
We're
fabulous.
gonna have it on the screen after y'all.
All right. Follow my brother Sean Hart Izzo at Sean Hart Izzo. Follow me at Emcstats. Yeah, man, y'all already know. We don't take y'all beautiful people listening to us for granted. This is what you call a beautiful episode. We'll see y'all next week.